Good afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we have got a ton of real estate news to cover today, starting with the end, maybe, of the lock-in effect, the jobs report, and what happened to mortgage rates last week. Consumer sentiment hits the highest level in 30 months, and some data concerns from the Colorado MLS, more news about clear cooperation, and the team's report takeaway from Real Scout and Real Trends. We're going to break it all down, so if you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with our team, and Sarah specifically, to talk about how all this might impact your real estate needs, you can do that with the link in the comments. So, Sarah, we've got all this economic data that is dropping right now, and it seems like after this sentiment of, hey, rates are going lower, then we had the jobs report come in last week. It came in over 100,000 jobs higher than the expectations for the month of September. We saw rates jump up to about 6.5%. Mm-hmm. What are you seeing in the market right now? Has it stopped people from wanting to do anything? Have clients become discouraged by this? What's your reaction to the jump in rates?
Yeah, no. So, I mean, the jump in rates, was not something that any of my clients wanted to see. However, it really hasn't majorly impacted anything for my like motivated individuals. Again, it's always like, if you're kind of on the fence about wanting to do something or not wanting to do something, and depending on what your motivation is, things like that can certainly kind of make you want to pump the brakes. But otherwise, there's ways to kind of work around that to still get your monthly payment down where it needs to be.
I agree with you, and I'm a big believer that there's this sentiment in the market right now where people are just like, they're tired of waiting, like for the market to improve. Danielle Hale, chief economist at Realtor.com, she had a very interesting observation when it comes to the lock-in effect. So if you don't know what the lock-in effect is, it's people got like a 3% rate and they don't want to move because rates are too high. So she came out and said sellers, especially those who are locked into a low rate, have been waiting for market conditions to change. Now that we're seeing mortgage rates down to their lowest level in about 2 years, there are signs of movement, with more sellers putting homes on the market, even in what's typically a real estate shoulder season. We expect mortgage rates to hold around 6% throughout the end of the year, which is a significant difference from their 7.8% high in October 2023. This has increased the buying power of many home shoppers and is a bonus over and above the seasonal factors that make this time of year the best time to buy. So her comments here, I mean, are you seeing that that's how the market's behaving right now? And she made this comment before rates jumped up in the jobs report, obviously. Sure. But we're still coming in like 1.5% less than where rates were just 12 months ago, which is a big movement.
Right. I mean, I think for the lock-in effect, I mean, it is something that is definitely real. And people are, considering that as they're kind of factoring what they need and what move makes sense. But at a certain point, if you've been needing to, say, downsize and, maybe now there's like health concerns or, mobility issues. At some point, like that's going to outweigh the rate. But as the rate does, as we've had the rates where they've been, up above 6 for the last several years, that is kind of the norm now. So you're not having that shocking factor of, they were just 2 points lower than this or whatnot. So I think as time goes by, the lock-in effect becomes a little bit less of an issue depending on your situation.
Well, and that's the key here. So for the agents that are listening, and even for the consumers, if there's not a reason to move, you're probably not going to move. I mean, it's, when we see people take advantage of the market in times like, 2020, 2021, 2022. Now, what we did see is that new listings surged 11.6% in September compared to the same month last year. So that's a pretty big jump. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that inventory locally through August was up 22.9%. We're getting the September data now here in the greater Philadelphia area. So I tend to agree with you. It's life's happening and people just can't delay things anymore. And that's probably the biggest impact on the lock-in effect. And when they talk about the impact on this, so, active listings were up 34% year over year in September, in some markets as well. So new listings and active listings are two different things. I want to be clear. New listings are like the new homes that get listed. So if there was 100, there would be 111.6 would be the difference here. Active listings is the homes on the market, which, there's obviously some holdover, the homes that didn't sell in July or August or even maybe longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people feel like the lock-in effect has been part of the post-pandemic new normal, with 84% of existing mortgages below 6% and 56% and 56 of them below 4%. But now post-rate cut, we're seeing the highest level of new listings for any September since 2021. Has that brought some optimism into the market for the folks you're working with?
Yeah, I think so. It's great to be able to continue to send. It's great looking every day and seeing what else has popped up or what's come up is coming soon to be able to give your clients more options. There's nothing worse than if you do have to be kind of tied to a specific community or a specific area and just there isn't much turnover there. Being able to, continue to send stuff out is phenomenal.
Well, and I think you look at your month of September. I mean, you had a couple people that went under contract that had been looking for a decent amount of time. So those additional options, in my view, probably got them to, find the home that they want, and that can be pretty helpful here. So, do you use that as like a case study for people? Are you sharing those experiences? Like, hey, this person was looking, they were getting into a little bit of a challenge, and then all of a sudden, they found the right home because they were in the arena. Like, how are you using that to help other people get educated about what's going on in the market?
Yeah, and I think what's great is the more years that I continue to do this, the more case studies that I have to go off of. Because while, the lock-in effect, or like there are some things that are going to be very specific to what's going on right now, a lot of it is more of an emotional thing, I think, in some cases. So you can pull from case studies from 3 years ago, and it's still relevant for maybe tactics that we use to get under contract or get a home sold if you're on the listing side, as well as just kind of like addressing some of the different fears that like many people have, and being able to give firsthand case studies of how we overcame them.
And that's such a great way to educate people, because when they see somebody else win, it says like you can win too. And finding a home is pretty tough. And I know some of these clients that you've been working with, like they've been a little frustrated. Is that fair to say? Up until they found their home. So, there's a light at the end of the tunnel here, but it comes to communication. So, like, where does empathy play into this, Sarah? Because I know you're really good at relating to people and helping them understand, like, hey, it's not you, it's the market. How do you deliver that? Because I think sometimes agents don't have a clue with emotional intelligence, which is pretty important.
Right. So, I think just kind of taking a step back and knowing that for most of these individuals, this isn't something that they are doing on the regular. They're not all like frequent movers, not all, so being able to kind of, take a step back and slow it down and explain what's going on and take the time to figure out what it is that is, what's worrying them, what's scaring them. I know, even for me, when my husband and we purchased a home, I guess like about 2 years ago. And at that point, I had already been doing this for like over 2 years. And when we got the call saying that we got the house, we were excited. We were like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Like immediately followed by like, oh no, what did we just do? And that's somebody who does like, you know what I mean? So like that, it's almost
this
like.
This is news to me, by the way. This is the first time I'm hearing this.
Like it's super normal to be like excited and then panicked over finding out. Cause like some of the challenges aren't just getting the offer written or getting the home accepted. It's a lot of the feelings that come along afterwards. So being able to relate to that and be like, listen, I felt the exact same way, and that that's normal, and it's a big change, and it is a big financial investment. So like you're gonna have questions and concerns, but like big picture.
Well, I love that you're saying I felt the same way, and people need to be able to relate to you, and there's this. Danielle Hale said it in the quote here, like, this is the best time to buy, right? Well, people don't believe what real estate agents say.
Right.
Because they think they're just trying to make a sale. But when you back it up, say, hey, I felt the same way you did. We just went through this. Or, Hey, I do agree it's the best time to buy because the last couple principal residences that I purchased, and this is true, was in May of 2020 during a lockdown and with like a video showing, and in 2011 when the market was recovering. So maybe it wasn't the hot and heavy market that we saw after that, but it was a little nerve wracking. But when you can say, hey, I did this, I took my own advice. Does this home work for you because of X, Y, and Z? And you're using the motivation there. That can be a lot more powerful than just, oh, it's a great time to buy. It's a great time to sell, which is, you hear agents say this stuff all the time.
Right. Like if you can't back up why, it almost, you shouldn't even say it because it comes off worse.
Yes, I agree. I mean, data and facts are going to matter. So now with that, another thing that happened today, we saw that the Fannie Mae Purchase Sentiment Index for September 2024 is in, and consumer optimism has significantly improved. It went up 1.8 points from August, the highest level in over 2 years. So if you don't know what the Home Purchase Sentiment Index is, it's basically a measure of confidence that consumers have, and 42% said they expect mortgage rates to decline, up from 39% the month before. Talks about all these factors, and it's their confidence level in the market. And it looks like the main reason for that is the general expectation that rates will continue a downward trend over the next 12 months. And I'm going to get to the jobs report here in a second because that threw a monkey wrench into all this. I'm feeling more optimistic about the market from the consumer side. Like, it seems like people are more excited to talk about this stuff again and consider a move. Are you seeing the same thing? What's been your experience since the September Fed meeting?
I mean, it's come up. People have kind of asked what that means for me, and interestingly enough, like they'll also ask like how it has impacted other clients of mine. So like people kind of want to know that they are feeling the same things as other people. And, it's, I haven't really had a ton of that before where clients would be like, well, what are other people doing? Mm-hmm. What are other people that you're talking to saying? And that's kind of come up more recently.
Well, and I'm seeing the same thing where people are like, hey, let's talk about it. It's not like we're going to buy a home right now,
right? But
they're looking at the long view, which is that's what a smart consumer does. They're thinking like maybe a year out or 18 months out. And if you look at what Mark Palem said, he's the Fannie Mae Senior Vice President and Chief Economist. He said that although most consumers continue to think it's a bad time, in quotes, to buy a home, the recent shift in attitude towards mortgage rates is pushing housing sentiment higher. And a growing share now pointing to high home prices rather than high mortgage rates as the primary sticking point for affordability. That's a big shift because a lot of people complain about rates. Increased positivity that mortgage rates will continue to fall has driven the HPSI, the Home Price Sentiment Index, to a 30-month high, but we've yet to see consumers' newfound rate optimism translate into meaningful increases in home sales activity, which I agree with. So it's like the beginning, I think, and that's, to me, it's a big factor of the economic policy change you're seeing from the Fed, that they finally made the made the rate adjustment. So, with all that, I mean, I don't know that you can say it's a good or a bad time to buy. I think that's all relative, even though that's what people expect here. And now you got this jobs report that I think would have dampened the survey results had that. I mean, remember, the jobs report came out Friday, and this survey wasn't just completed Friday. So, with rates jumping up, if you have people that are optimistic and talking about it, are they still concerned that rates are in like the mid sixes, or do they want to see them come lower? Like, what are you hearing in the ground, Sarah?
Well, I think everybody wants to see them come lower.
Excellent analysis.
So that's which isn't surprising. But in those cases, maybe just running the numbers for like, hey, this is what we're working with right now. This is what it looks like if they ticked up a little bit more, and this is what it looks like if they teetered down a little bit. And then, I always like to stress to speak with a lender, to shop around, but like to find out if there could be other programs that they could use. There can be other things besides just the advertised rate, depending on the situation, and having that conversation with your lender and really just like walking through options and asking questions with them is important, because there could be programs out there for you.
So I've got a different take on this. This jobs report, it came out, and again, the expectation was 150,000 new jobs added, and it came in at 254,000. I wonder if we can even believe this number, because you saw what happened over the summer where they had to revise the jobs report down by 818,000. It was by a third, basically. So, where does this number come from? Is it a made up number? I don't know that the economy is as strong as it is, and I think this is a reaction. And I wouldn't be surprised if rates maybe settle down a little bit, and maybe especially within the next Fed meeting coming up here. When's the next meeting? We'll find that out here in a second. But I don't, it's in a month. It's 29 days away. I don't know that you can necessarily believe the number because they always adjust it downward anyway.
Right. Well, I know that not on the back end, but there's a lot that these numbers can impact. For most of my clients, they're not specifically bringing up the jobs report to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they're probably talking about rates, which is the effect. And to give some perspective, so next Fed meeting's in 29 days and change. There's an 86.6% chance we're going to see a 25 basis point decrease and a 13.4% chance we're going to see a 50 basis point decrease. So, I mean, that's kind of what I expected, that you would, a 13.4% chance that they don't do anything. Yeah. So I think it's going to be 25 basis points and maybe another 25 before the end of the year. I mean, it's just going to take some time. So, it's these numbers. This is the problem with the Fed and this data, is that the data is the data, but it's always moving around, and you can skew it in a lot of different ways. So, right. Before we wrap here, I want to look at the housing market tracker here really quickly. So Logan Mohtashami puts this out over the weekend, which I love, and he talks about the key indicators. So he looks at the 30-year and the 10-year yield, how that's going to impact the 30-year. We're seeing the 10-year has been, it's up a little bit today. It's persisting in the low 4 range. We're seeing where mortgage spreads are, and there's still a decent spread here. It's a 2.33% spread between the 30-year and the 10-year. Purchase application data. This, to me, is always the one you want to look at. And we've seen that so far. We saw, last week we had a 9% year-over-year growth in purchase apps, which is back-to-back weeks of positive year-over-year data. So we saw that again. That purchase applications are up, which tell me there is some optimism in the market. The applications index is at 149.3. That's one of the highest numbers all year. So that's certainly good. We saw that pending sales they leveled off a little bit so far this October. We saw 354,816. That's up from last year's numbers. So all this kind of tells me, and I'd love to get your take, there's deals to be done. You just got to find the right people.
Yeah.
And if you're a consumer right now, I'm looking at this data and saying, hey, there's homes out there that can be bought or sold. And I'm looking at elevated days on market, homes that maybe you've been keeping your eye on. And there's still multiple offer situations happening all over the place. So don't sleep on the fall market, because there's going to be less competition now for buyers than there will be in the spring. And for sellers, you're not going to have that same fever pitch, but people are buying homes right now. And I do see some optimism there to maybe get a deal done now versus waiting another 3-6 months.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people have to move anytime during the year for many different reasons. So it's not like there is only one time in which it's all right, and this is when everyone moves, and this is when all transactions happen. Certainly there are heavier periods, but this is absolutely a great time to get up there. And I mean, we're early October right now. You could be in a new home or be moved out of your last one easily by the end of the year. I think that oftentimes people are thinking in terms of, school districts and
yes.
but now the kids would already be in the school year. But you could have people that have young children that know that they want to eventually, that this doesn't matter. The actual school calendar year right now isn't a factor. They're thinking ahead. They're planning ahead. So, there are people that will be moving and transacting all year.
This is a lesson for agents that, you already hear people talking about fiscally, you get into November, you sell something. It's probably not closing if you get towards Thanksgiving, probably until 2024 or 2025. That's not the point. The point is there's a lot of stuff you can do right now to move your business forward and to end the year strong. Mm-hmm. And, these people that take off, you do a bunch of deals and you're oh, I can't do anymore. That's the worst thing you can do in this business. because then you're going to be kicking yourself like 90 days from now, and it happens all the time. So, there's a lot of opportunity here in the fourth quarter to load up for the first quarter of 2025, but also end the year strong, and that's what I'd be focused on as an agent right now, because this is where you can really set up your year really nicely, because right after the first of the year, people are like, let's go. I'm ready to buy a home. The holidays are over. I'm sick of drinking eggnog and eating cheese at parties, and I'm just ready to go do something. So I wouldn't sleep on that if I'm an agent, and that's really, you have a lot of opportunity right in front of you right now at this moment in time.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about data sharing in the MLS, more clear cooperation news, including something that happened locally with Bright, and the team's report we'll wrap up with on Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
For the best local mortgage service and great rates on your money, look no further than Mortgage America. We have been operating in the greater Philadelphia area for 40 years with a focus on smooth, easy access to home purchasing. Whether you're a first-time buyer, upsizing or downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have closing cost assistance programs and access to subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. To learn more, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000. We always have a person available to take your call with around-the-clock human service. Purchase your home with the personalized, local service you find at Mortgage America.
Mortgage America is an equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been with us for at least a year average 30-plus sales. Even our brand new agents average 17 to 24 sales a year. We offer proven systems and expert training. We help you set more appointments and sell more houses. Now, here's the offer. If you don't have a real estate license yet, we offer real estate scholarships so you can get one for free. Check it out at realestatescholarshipprogram.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line at tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com. Mortgage America is equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
Welcome back to Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. And we both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are talking about an MLS in Colorado that might be buying your data. This is very interesting. More MLS drama here. This is what we talk about in real estate. And another Robert Refkin article about clear cooperation. He's clearly on the warpath here to get this overturned. And then we'll talk about the team's report from Real Trends and Real Scout that Bam talked about in the last segment here. So if you get some value out of this, you'll like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with our team, and Sarah in particular, feel free to do that in the comments to talk about how you can navigate all this data to make winning real estate decisions. So I don't know how much you've been following this RE Colorado story, Sarah. So this is very interesting. So to give people some background here, the RE Colorado MLS, it just got bought. It got sold to a local real estate businessman, Joseph Burks. And the board of directors was fired. They sold it, and now it's under new ownership, and it rolled out a new agreement to participate in the MLS. And the agreement allows a broker to own the listing contract, but RE Colorado will own the listings record, potentially giving them the right to deny an agent's ability to download and sell their listings. So what this means is that, I mean, you know, you market the listing like, hey, just sold this. Here's my sale. We do this stuff all the time. The MLS, RE Colorado MLS, denies that it does either of those things, claiming the agreement gives it copyright over the compilation of the MLS database. And there was a quote that came out. So there was a deadline of Wednesdays, tomorrow, to sign this agreement for participating agents. And some of major brokers have chose to have had loose conversations about legal action or join a competing MLS. There's a Denver agent, Brett Weinstein, said it creates an uneven playing field for the members of RE Colorado because the control of getting your listing to every single site may have just gone away. I don't think people are as aware of it as they should be. The owner of the data should never be RE Colorado. So this seems a little peculiar to me. What do you think about this? And I know, and I'm going to get your just raw reaction here.
All right. First of all, why was the other guy fired?
Well, someone actually bought the MLS. So
Okay.
it was just they fired their board of directors. They bought it. It was an interesting move to say the least.
There's more than one MLS in Colorado.
There is, but I mean, there's also more than one MLS in Pennsylvania, but it doesn't service like where we live, as an example.
I gotcha. So where this is, there's no overlap. There's one MLS that you would be able to be under.
Yep.
Okay. And people are giving pushback. Yeah, I mean, did any other MLSs have the copyright ownership, or is this the first one?
This is new, and from what I understand, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not some MLS expert. I follow this stuff as much as I should, but I'm really focused on what Bright's doing, which we're going to get to in a second. So I'm going to give you a different opinion here. So there's Rob Hahn, the notorious Rob. He's like a real estate blogger, really smart dude. I'm actually going to see him next week, I think, at BAM Mania, which should be good. So he wrote about the situation on his Substack feed, which is basically a blog, and he also hosted a webinar on it. And him and the former CEO of Remax, Adam Conto, said they're laying out short-term solutions for brokerages who need to protect their data first and foremost and address longer-term solutions. And what he and what someone from EXP said was that there are some things that are a slight departure from what we have seen in our MLSs, and we continue to review it under legal counsel. But I also want to see what may come out of RE Colorado or in the state, because maybe there's a better solution. We're always open to having these conversations. You're basically, the argument is they're taking IP from your own broker members, as it is really what's happening here. And that's the concern that a lot of people have right now.
And so they're saying they won't restrict brokers or agents from post-sale marketing and advertising that, but that they want to have the rights so that they have the full access to everyone's data and can give accurate numbers on things.
That's pretty much what's going on. I don't
know why they would need the rights to be able to, if all the information is in there, why do they need the rights to be able to compile whatever reports or whatever numbers they're trying to give?
It's interesting, right? What's the play? There's got to be some business move around
this.
Right,
there's a reason why, especially if other MLSs aren't doing that. And if they're the first ones, what are you trying to do?
So Rob Hahn had he had some takeaways from someone he knows that understands real estate data really well.
Okay.
And he wrote in his Substack post, "Our view is that the MLS as we know it is already dead, but the industry doesn't know it yet because it will take time for the world to understand what is visible to some of us." So the MLS has always been about the unilateral offer of compensation. That's gone. That's absolutely correct. Mm-hmm. The reason why brokerage members of the MLS are called participants is that they participated in the unilateral offer of compensation. I hear that. One thing the MLS can no longer do is to have anything to do with compensation. Okay, we've beaten the
right.
You see the trend here. The only remaining value of the MLS is as a central repository of data, and the central repository of data goes against the interests of big brokerages. Those interests were outweighed by the benefit of guaranteed compensation but compensation is now history. So it's a matter of time before the entire MLS system dies. That future will suck for anyone who is not at a big brokerage, but it is what rationality dictates. The first 3 points are for sure true. And then he goes on. I mean, this is a very long post. Then there's the self-interest of brokerages and all sorts of stuff. It just seems like there's something going on here. And I don't really know what it is, to be very honest with you. But it's like, why would you want the right to that data unless you're going to remarket it? And because the MLS doesn't guarantee payment, this might be someone experimenting with the data. Like, I don't really know.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That is weird. I'm not sure what it means.
So I see. I mean, the MLS may be dead. He might be right. So here's why he's concerned about the data ownership issue. The MLS may think that their value prop of compensation has gone poof is in the data. So they want to assert ownership over that data, thinking it will force brokers and agents to keep subscribing. He believes the reverse is more likely true. If the choice is between joining an MLS and handing over ownership of your data, or leaving the MLS and creating a superpower that leads to market dominance, it's not that difficult of a choice. So there's an agent, Alan Dom. You've probably heard of him, right? He doesn't use the MLS. Sells a lot of properties down in Rittenhouse Square.
Okay.
And he's had a lot, and he hasn't used it for a long. It's his company now, obviously. I mean, he ran for mayor, all that stuff. And that was very taboo 10, 15 years ago. And now maybe this is why these big brokerages are going on this war against clear cooperation, because invariably you see companies like, Compass, like the one day on the market, Compass double-ended listing. You ever seen those in the MLS?
Yeah.
Oh, well, other people don't find out about it. I have a couple addresses I could tell you. I'm not going to share on the air here. This could be something that, these companies want to make sure that, the MLS is trying to protect its own existence.
Right.
Instead of maybe do what's best for the consumer. I mean, I'm a big believer in transparent data. I think everyone should know what's going on when it comes to real estate. But the seller should have options. Big brokerages are going to do what's best for them.
Right. So they're saying like the MLS is going to rely on the fact that this is where you go to get all history of past transactions, past deals in like an easy one snap or a one stop area. And that's what they're going to rely on to stay relevant.
That's what it sounds like. I mean, I think that they've got a lot of power here, but they also have the most to lose because people join just so they would guarantee they would get paid, right?
But I do like having one place to go to get.
I do. I think it's best for consumers. I mean, I want to be very clear. I understand why this MLS is doing this, because they want to make sure they're protecting that data. Because what is frustrating, I was talking to somebody today, and there was a home that hit the market and went pending right away, and the consumer was not happy about it. They said, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
And this is what commercial real estate is like. There's not a lot of rules. It's more like the Wild West. And when you see this happening, and you look at some of the like CoStar and all these other things, they're optional. They're. And Andrew Flackner, who owns Real Scout, we're going to talk about this in a second. I mean, he said that the real estate industry hasn't yet encountered a company that's captured enough market share to reach the market share tipping point, which what he means by that, and a lot of people don't talk about, it takes about 2% of the brokerages to dominate 51% of the listings, and which we see all the time. I mean, there's certain dominant listing agents and fairly large MLS systems where 6 brokerages control over 60% of the listings, right? So small brokerages, they have a bit of an uphill battle here. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about with this, and I think that the whole play is that they're doing this to protect their existence and keep the dues flowing.
Yeah.
So
that's
one thing here. The other thing we're going to talk about is this article from Robert Refkin. He came out. I actually don't want to talk about the article. What I want to talk about is what happened with BrightMLS with us. So Robert Refkin wrote in Inman, here's the risks about clear cooperation, public price drops and accumulation of days on market, buyer inquiries sold as leads instead of going to the listing agent the homeowner hired, the broad dissemination and monetization of homeowners' data. These are all parts of the problem with clear cooperation. So that's fine. And MLS disclosure risks all that. What I think people aren't realizing is that, and this was very interesting because we are very particular about our paperwork. You've seen that on the other side, right?
Yeah.
Like, not in a bad way, but
No, it's good. I mean, it is by the book.
so we do that for a reason. And we recently got a complaint filed against us about a listing and said, I'm going to read you what the email says. This is from Bright. And let's see this here. This is going to be, I don't know if you were expecting me to go down this road here, but this is where we're going. So here we go. Where is it? Bright complaint. Here we go. So, dear blank agent, Bright has received a report there is an active listing agreement for this property, yet we are unable to locate an on-market or office exclusive listing in the MLS. To confirm accurate data regarding your listing entry date, please reply to this email no later than 3 p.m. on 9/27. We got this at 9:23 in the morning on 9/26. Signed copy of the MLS disclosure form, signed copy of listing agreement, signed copy of office exclusive form, any addenda. And then they went through like all these rules and regulations. So we sent over all the paperwork. It was all fine.
Right.
And clearly what happened here is one of two things. We were prepping the home. The home's not on the market yet. All good. That's what the seller wanted us to do. Like they're not ready. They're in the process of moving. The house is a disaster.
Yep.
So, which is very common for sellers. Like it's not like you sign the home and they're like, okay, we're ready to go. Like that usually doesn't happen.
Right. It's like that was like the first step before they like figure out how they're staging, get everything packed up. Yes.
So this happens, and then there's two things that happen. One, we know they interviewed another agent, and that agent could have reported us because of sour grapes.
Sure.
That's usually who reports people. The other thing that could have happened is maybe there was, the seller said, hey, my home's going up for sale. They tell somebody, their agent can't find out about it. Like there's all these variables, and that agent reports it. And so we have to go through this song and dance. The fine is like close to $1,000 for this. I think it's $750 or $1,000. And we have to have it in the system. So then I call Bright and I say, all right, what do we need to do here? Like we're here to be compliant. Here's the file. We got 3 different answers about how to properly enter this into the MLS. One is we need an office exclusive. 2 is we need one form signed. 3rd was we need another form signed. Then a 4th opinion that our broker got was that we don't need either of them signed.
Right.
So what this tells me is that these MLSs.
But it's not like this was being marketed anywhere else. It just, the contract was signed, but it wasn't time to
We didn't break any rules.
Right.
And we weren't even marking it in like as an office exclusive or anything like that, which I know other companies do, like Compass, like Robert Refkin, who talks about this. And we had to go through this whole song and dance about how to appeal this thing, and we couldn't get a straight answer. The woman on the phone at Bright would not even tell me her last name when I asked who it was. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I'm the client, not you. Like, this is not how this works. And
like, if you're gonna have like I don't want to say like audacity, but like you're gonna send this threatening email, threatening a fine, and saying I have to get these documents back to you within like 24 hours, but you can't answer any questions I have about am I properly like having all this together? Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So what do you think about all this? I mean, it seems like nobody knows what they're doing here. We've got this MLS, basically controlling the data, so to speak. Are MLSs nervous right now?
Probably a little bit. I also wonder if a complaint is filed, if then the complaintor like can request like, did you address it? And like if they
wouldn't disclose who made the complaint. I straight up asked him.
Right. So like they wouldn't disclose it to you, but the person who made the complaint, if they go back to the MLS, is there something that they could have an issue with if there isn't proof that like it was looked into or followed up, or do you know what I mean?
That I don't know the answer to.
Could I find the MLS if I made a complaint about something and they didn't?
No, we couldn't find the MLS. I mean, that's the point here, and I think that's the challenge right now, and that's what Rob's talking about in this Substack post is that the MLSs I think are clawing for control. I mean, this is like control play. Like I mean, we sent them everything, nothing happened, it was all fine, but clearly someone made a complaint, didn't like what happened. We sent them all the docs, and nobody tells me what the right procedure is. Like we've had 3 different phone calls, and Karen Terry, our listing manager, and Wendy Friedland-Muto, our ops manager, was in the room when I made the call. And I said, hey, I'm on speaker with our team. Here's what's going on. They're like, well, we don't really know what it is. I'm waiting on a call back from Bright. That was 3 days ago at this point.
Yeah.
No one's told me anything.
Is that why we now have that other additional form?
Well, there's one form from the NAR settlement that's required. Then there's one form that's like outdated. Like it just, nobody knows what they're doing over there. And I think what I see happening here is that their MLSs are trying to stay relevant because there's like if clear cooperation goes away,
Yeah.
That I mean, then you're going to get, and I still think it's best for everyone to be on every website. Like normally, you want to have the best exposure, like you talked about, but it's just they're looking for control here, and they lost that control with the NAR settlement.
Right. Well, and then I feel like it would quickly crumble, because if it's not required and if everybody's isn't having to put their data on there, then all of a sudden there are going to be places that aren't on there, but you would have to access otherwise. So like the main draw to it for me right now, I would say, is being able to, for the most part, access most properties on it.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's the real-time database, right? Yeah. And so this is going to go away. This is going to be interesting. And I don't think people you remember how we talked about the commission lawsuit was a big deal when we started the show, and no one really thought about it was. And then, hey, guess where we are right now?
Right.
So this could be the next thing to drop here in the residential real estate industry. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about the team's report takeaways from Real Scout and from Tom Ferry, T360, all that good stuff next on Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
You shouldn't have to deal with all the red tape when getting your mortgage from a big or online bank. At Mortgage America, we have access to big bank money, but with the personalized and detailed service of a local bank. We are here in your community and ready to serve with fast settlements, low down payment options, and first-time homebuyer programs. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. For more information, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000.
Mortgage America's equal housing lender, NMLS 128501. When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com. Mortgage America's equal housing lender, NMLS 128501.
The Tom Toole Sales Group is the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania with over $165 million in volume for 2021. I'm Tom Toole, and our team has achieved that kind of success by being a great place to work with and to work for. No one knows Greater Philly better than we do. We know real estate, but more importantly, we're real people. We hire the best agents, and we give them all the tools to succeed. Even our brand new agents sell 17 to 24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. Teams deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service. We're your advocate, ally, and advisor. Because this isn't a transaction to us, it's a relationship. If you're buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. That's TomToole.com. Sell your home for more, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
All right. Welcome back to Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. We are talking about the team's report from Real Scout and Tom Ferry. If you get some value out of this, you'll like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call to talk with our team about real estate, and Sarah specifically, you can do that with the link in the comments. So we got this team's report. I always find these reports very interesting because real estate is like this field where there's no like SOPs. Like people just there's all these kind of crazy business models. I see a lot of bad ones. I don't know about you. So it's fascinating seeing how teams are run. I mean, I've heard some stories and it's kind of a disaster. So there's 500 team leaders that responded to this survey that was done by T360, Tom Ferry International, and Real Scout. And the report is based on data from about 350 of them, and they had a couple big takeaways. So he did a whole interview with Byron over at BAM, but I just want to go over some of the high-level stuff here. So the first was organizational diversity among teams. So the median team size in 2024 is 6 licensed agents, with 9 out of 10 teams, 91%, having at least one non-agent team member, such as marketing, transaction management, or administration. And there was 3 different types of teams. There was unified, a team of agents working as an assembly line serving a singular customer. Cooperative, a team of agents working independently under an umbrella, each working their database and lead sources, but all of them benefiting from shared resources and marketing. Or a hybrid style, which is a little of both. And that's probably where you're having, similar SOPs, but also working different lead sources for each of those. Is that surprising to you? There's only 3 models. I mean, what do you think about those models that are out there, Sarah? If that's the third type that or the 3 types that you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably because with the hybrid, you could take different pieces of. I feel like with even only having 3 models, they probably could look differently. They could look more than 3 different ways.
I agree with you, and I think that's actually a good way to bucket these because there used to be Tom Ferry went on stage once, and it's he called it the family team, and it's some messed up family where no one can agree on anything, and there's a mom, a dad, and a cousin. I'm sure you've seen those.
Yeah.
Then there's the team where everyone's kind of working towards the same goal. I think that's kind of the hybrid where it's unified and cooperative styles. And then they talked about the hero minions team where there's one agent and then a bunch of other people just kind of, it was you ever see the Despicable Me? I'm sure you've watched those, right? Where it's all these people kind of working to support the leader, which obviously to me is a horrible business model. So I tend to agree with you. I like the 3 buckets there. The second big takeaway I found was that SOI is crucial. So your sphere of influence, your network. And 80% of both large and small teams generate most or many of their transactions from their SOI or referrals. And that was a little surprising to me. So what's your take on that? I mean, that was a big number considering there's a lot of people on these teams.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess your sphere as you're in the business longer and as more and more people enter the business, or are on your team, not only are their personal spheres going to continue to grow, but the spheres from past at a certain point then your past clients, if they start referring you out or if they do repeat business, that would eventually kind of fall into a sphere bucket as well. And I think that's probably one of the best ways to not just get leads, but actually get deals done and have them close. So that's not completely surprising. And I guess it would
the surprise for me was the volume of it.
Yeah.
Is that they're if I look at going as a team, you want to have a fallback, right?
Yeah.
And then there's other things besides just doing the because you could work your sphere on your own hypothetically. But I mean, if it's 80% generate most or many of their transactions from their sphere, I mean, I would hope there would be some other lead volume there for people. That was really surprising to me that people don't get opportunities outside of their SOI and the people they know.
Right. Yeah.
All right. We're getting played out. That's it. We'll have to unpack this a little more next time. If you got some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. You want to connect with Sarah, look at the link in the comments. You can schedule a call with her to talk about your real estate needs. And we're live every week on Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.